Hardwood floors and more. 4696 Washington Road in Evans.
Closed captioning for this newscast brought to you by Advanced Technology Group and WC Fiber.
On your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
It took the government decades to admit Agent Orange exposure could be deadly, but veterans may have also passed the toxin down to their kids and grandkids. Our I-Team continues digging deeper into a possible lethal legacy.
And a 13-year-old serving life in prison for murder. Tonight we have his confession tape and a look at what led up to such a violent crime for a kid so young.
But we begin with our top story this evening. 4 days of celebrations of opera great and Augusta's own Jesse Norman are now underway.
And today was the very first of 2 days of a public viewing for Norman, who died last week at the age of 74. News 12 City Heiberger joins us live now. She's at Mount Calvary Baptist Church, where that viewing is still going on. And City, we can see people coming in and out there still behind you.
Yeah, Laura and Richard, people have been coming in and out of this church all day. You can see the hearse still parked directly in front of the doors. A lot of the people who have been here today were Jesse's childhood friends. A lot of them have been gathering outside to reminisce and talk about memories. In my opinion, the mood here has been one of celebration and joy, that a girl who grew up on Forest Street in Augusta, Georgia, grew to international fame.
Girl, you did it. You know what I'm saying? And we are so proud of you.
Willette Evans grew up on Forest Street, right next to Jesse Norman. She was the first one in line for Jesse's viewing, 2.5 hours early.
I wanted to pay my respect. I mean, she deserved that and more.
Willette hasn't seen Jesse in years, so to finally see her again warmed her heart.
She looked good. She's home. She's home.
Patricia MB and Patricia Ann Twiggs sang in the church choir with Jesse years ago.
I think everybody in the choir just loved her.
I think everybody in the church.
Like many who came out today, they shared stories about their childhoods and admired Jesse's confidence even before she was famous.
When she walked, it was as if she owned the world. You know, it's just her persona.
Just the way she sang opera, that was the type of person she was.
People here say, for a woman who shared her talents with the whole world, it means a lot Jessie was laid to rest right back where it all began.
It just reminded me of the years past when she was here, and I said to Patricia earlier, I said she's back home. You know, she's back where she belongs. So, yeah.
Tonight's viewing wraps up at 7 o'clock, but the doors will open back up tomorrow at 9 a.m. for anyone who hasn't gotten a chance yet to say their goodbyes.
And we know on Saturday when the funeral happens, it will be a packed house.
Yeah, that's over at the Bell. But can you imagine singing in a church choir with Jesse Norman?
I do not think I would want to sing her back up. Talk about a star, singing with a star.
I love the tributes, and we have a few more days left to go there. Let's have a live look outside now. Washington Road at Berkman's, a beautiful afternoon to be stuck in traffic there.
But thankfully a little cooler out there, but we are so dry, Riley.
We are very dry, and it is nice to get outside and enjoy the dry air. We had a lot of sunshine over the last couple of days, but we do need some rain. We're going to have a look at that drought monitor issued earlier this morning in that full forecast. Unfortunately, not looking good for us. 81 degrees currently. We have been as high as 83, so very similar to what we saw yesterday. And tonight, we actually have the International Space Station making a flyover. So it's going to start at 7:59 p.m., look towards the northwestern portion of the sky, and then it's going to fly over for about 6 minutes and end in the southeast corner. Perfect viewing conditions. We'll take a look at the weekend forecast and that drought monitor coming up.
Thanks, Riley. A manhunt going on right now for the man wanted for shooting a store clerk in Aiken after a robbery. Swiss Tyrone Council wanted a connection to that in-market shooting Tuesday morning. He was spotted today in the area of Trolley Line Road and Vaucluse Road earlier this afternoon. Just in the last few minutes, 10 minutes, we've been told he's most likely left that area now, but Lloyd Kennedy Charter School and Pinecrest School were both on lockdown while they searched for that area. They searched that area for him. Students were dismissed from school early with help from law enforcement there.
There are more than 2,000 charges pending against Richmond County children right now. Kids in the criminal system is a persistent problem for the county.
One of the latest cases, a 13-year-old serving life in prison for murder. He committed the crime a couple of years ago, but a judge has just sentenced him. Now Augusta government reporter Sierra Cummings has the confession on tape.
Yeah, his name is Zydrick Shelley. He was sentenced as an adult, and that's how we got a copy of this confession tape. Local activists say it's cases like Zydrick Shelley's one that maybe he could have been saved if there were more resources in Richmond County.
You ready?
At 13 years old, there are few things a child is ready for, but Zydrick Shelley murdered a woman the same year he should have been getting ready for 8th grade.
Wait, did you take normal classes? Were you in special education classes?
Oh, I ain't been to school in a long time. Last time I went to school.
Back in 2017, police say he killed a 61-year-old woman. They found her dying near AUMC.
So the gift from him, she told me she told me she'd cut me up. So I grabbed her. She's walked up on me. I shot her.
Zydrick says the woman would not stop following him. He didn't know what to do. He pulled out his gun, one he bought for $60 at the pawn shop.
It was already over with. She ran up on me, so I was panicking. I picked up a purse. I left.
He was not in school because he dropped out. He was not home because he was a ward of the state. He was not himself because he says since 7, he's been without his medicine for anxiety and ADHD.
We all make choices. Sometimes we gotta accept choices we make.
The teen made a choice he has to live with. He's sentenced to a lifetime of facing it. But before he got here, juvenile justice advocates say he and thousands of Richmond County kids were stuck in the cracks of a broken system.
So I'm standing in front of the old jail on Walton Way. It'll be renovated into a justice center. The city is currently waiting on a company to come in that's qualified to knock this down, renovate it, putting tutoring rooms, mentoring rooms, computer rooms. It's stuff for extracurricular activities after school. And so hopefully that'll create more resources for families and kids that are considered at risk, like Zydrick Shelley.
So many kids in the juvenile justice system. Sierra, thank you. Also this evening, it took the government decades to admit Agent Orange exposure could be deadly, but some believe veterans have also passed the toxin down to their kids and their grandkids.
The VA isn't exactly known for approving claims quickly, so our I-Team continues to dig deeper into a possible lethal legacy.
It all started when the government admitted to testing Agent Orange at Fort Gordon. We asked a man exposed to it here, how's your family? That's when we learned his daughter and other children of local veterans could also be paying the price. It is a place of reflection, where visitors are supposed to see their own reflection. The Vietnam Wall is almost like a mirror that connects the living to the more than 58,000 who never came home. Most were killed in action, others were MIA but presumed dead. But all of the names on the wall are connected to combat. As a command sergeant major, Richard Meade was painfully aware of each and every name from his unit.
He was the one that had to write the letters home to the parents that, hey, sorry for your loss. Your son has been killed in Vietnam.
That's his son, Richard Meade Jr., born after his dad returned from Vietnam. He had survived the war, or so he and his family thought. Decades later, the government would admit his cancer was service-connected and 100% disabling. It was also associated with exposure to Agent Orange. Which brings us back to the Granite Wall in D.C. You won't find Sergeant Major Richard Meade's name here. If you were a victim of Agent Orange, your name isn't etched in black.
There's so many other things they had to worry about over in Vietnam. I think the last thing on their mind would be, oh, is this chemical safe?
Right, then again, you kind of want to trust your government.
But this video shows just how negligent the government could have been when it came to safety. The Army took this video in 1969 of soldiers spraying Agent Orange along a riverbank in South Vietnam. Notice, none of them are wearing any protective equipment. Nothing, not even gloves. The government was also negligent with information. According to a congressional report, the VA got its first claims asserting conditions related to Agent Orange in 1977. 2 years later, Congress finally enacted several laws to take a closer look at whether exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam was associated with possible long-term health effects and certain disabilities. But we've uncovered this document from Dow Chemical, the company behind Agent Orange. It is dated February 22nd, 1957, and specifically mentions chloracne, the most common skin sign of dioxin poisoning, or Agent Orange exposure. It references a letter even earlier than that, in 1955, describing the hazards due to the toxicity of 2,4,5-trichlorophenol, or what's used to make dioxin, which makes Agent Orange so lethal. Still, 7 years later, in 1962, President John F. Kennedy gave approval for the U.S. to start spraying.
He said it was normal for them to have field sprayed with Agent Orange while they were, there.
Agent Orange was supposedly helping Command Sergeant Major Meade and his men defeat the enemy. Instead, the toxin would serve as ammunition his own body would use against him decades later. That attack came April 11th, 1996. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma linked to Agent Orange.
We moved in to help, and then I get sick.
He thought it was just breathing problems, but it turned out to be something far more serious.
And they said stage 4.
Yes, Hodgkin's lymphoma.
He was only 38 years old. Richard Meade Sr. and Richard Meade Jr.
So we were both undergoing chemotherapy at the same time.
Were now fighting a war side by side. Richard also helped his dad battle the VA.
He was turned down, I don't know how many times, and he had to resubmit it. Then they review it, then turn down, resubmit it. Well, then we're only going to give you X amount of percentage. Then he had resubmitted again, now we're going to give you this amount of percentage. It's kind of like, hopefully they were waiting for him to die where they didn't have to pay anything.
Unlike so many Vietnam veterans, Meade outlived his claim. He died in Augusta, November 29th, 2010, with full benefits.
So, are you going to apply now?
Yeah. Now that I've talked to you, and I see that there is an avenue for me to explore.
Right now, the VA recognizes certain birth defects of children of vets exposed to Agent Orange as collateral damage. It took decades for spina bifida to be added. It also took decades for the VA to admit these are connected to the veterans who were exposed. And then there are the Blue Water Navy veterans who were stationed on ships offshore during the Vietnam War. A decision came down just this year they could be included. After years of fighting, their claims will finally be considered in 2020. A lot of them won't live that long.
I never went into war. I don't deserve any praise. I haven't, seen my best friend die in combat, so I didn't really feel like I deserved it.
But after our report, where 3 different doctors said they believe Mandy McCormick's rare blood disorder is because of her dad's Agent Orange exposure, he reached out to some who have seen combat.
I've talked to a couple of veterans, and they're like, well, you were almost a veteran like us because, you were exposed to Agent Orange. So I wouldn't be offended if you did apply for them.
So he will apply for benefits and hope for the best, even though he expects to hit a wall at the VA, much like the names of Agent Orange casualties that are stonewalled from ending up on this stone wall.
Something else to note here, Richard Meade Sr. also had a daughter after returning home from Vietnam. She doesn't appear to have any health problems, but her daughter was born with spina bifida. You'll remember that's one of the VA's recognized birth defects for children of vets exposed to Agent Orange. This could be further proof the toxin can be passed to 3 generations. She is now in the process of applying for benefits too.
And that documentation that we just showed is so important, Meredith, in helping these people get their claims and prove their cases of Agent Orange exposure.
Absolutely, and who knows how many people this could be affecting. Hopefully we'll hear from more of them as this goes on.
Thanks a lot, Meredith. Let's check in now with Riley as we look ahead. Always looking ahead to the weekend, aren't we?
Yeah, the weekend's looking good if you have outdoor plans. Not expecting much rain, and we do have some cool mornings ahead. That full forecast is coming up next.
And if you're looking for something fun to do this weekend, the Greek Festival is kicking off. If you're in the mood for baklava, you are in the right place.
News 12 is saluting our veterans. Master Sergeant William DeAngel joined the U.S. Air Force in 1996. This Beach Island native took part in Operation Iraqi Freedom and served until 2016. We're proud to honor William